You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So, if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your, stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Check yourself with Chris Gillis. Can you really get him to change? Ladies, welcome. As I get adjusted here, we're super excited to talk about Love Island with Mr. Chris Gillis. How are you?
Hey, doing cold and chilly, but let's warm it up here though.
Let's warm it up to the islanders. So one thing I want to make sure that we talk about is this idea of earning back trust, because since we last spoke, we had a Casa Amor, which, if you don't know what that is basically, imagine you're dating someone, whether you've gone on 3 dates with them or you've been dating them for a month, but you're not exclusive.
Yeah.
But maybe you don't even know if you're exclusive. You're not sure if the person's seeing other people, but you both decide individually, without communicating, that you're going to be seeing other people. And that's what happens. They put these people in an experience where new possible mates come in, and they're trying to decide, is this person a better connection than the person I've been with, right? Which is kind of a simulation of what dating is like. What I think I want to talk about first is, and I'm going to start something really simple with Casey and Claudia. Because Casey and Claudia dating, they've known each other like 3 days. So they really don't have any deep connection. And they both sort of go into Casa Amor with this idea of I'm going to be open. Yeah. However, when they come back together, Claudia is pissed that Casey was curious and kind of kissed some other girls. So I wanted to ask you, like, what is appropriate? Like, at what point are you like, wow, I can't believe you're dating other people? Or do you not just want to know? Don't ask, don't tell. Like, because a lot of ladies have a hard time dating more than one guy at a time.
For sure. No, this is a great place to start. It's always funky how it does. Life does imitate art, or art does imitate real life on this show. Those very early stages in a relationship. You're 100% right. We're sussing each other out, and it's too early to have the, hey, we're exclusive, right? It would be weird if Casey and then Claudia said, hey, yeah, you're mine after a couple of days. It's too soon. But of course, we all have real feelings, and then you find out somebody snogged another person on one of their dates. Maybe it's you heard it through the grapevine, right? You're in that small little incestual world, and you're hurt. How the heck do you? Yeah, how do we deal with it, and what do you say? So I think that is a beautiful,
it's this thing about, like, this is the phrase, okay, that I think gets people confused. I thought we had a connection.
Sure. Right.
Like, oh, I thought we had a really great connection. I can't believe he would be dating other people. I thought we had a connection. How could he have had a connection with someone else too? Right. So tell me, what do you think? Like, does it mean a guy isn't, like, serious? Is he a jerk? If are you a jerk if you're also going on other dates but kissing one guy? Like, what do you think we should do about that? What's your answer?
I think we should discuss to figure out what those things, I guess, get clear on what is it you're hurt about, get clear with your own feelings, and then find out what it meant, especially with men and women. So the snogging, for those who aren't into the UK language, it means kissing, making out, canoodling, and these guys are kind of forced to do such a thing. And sometimes you're on a date and whatever, if the guy leans over, sometimes a girl or a guy doesn't have, they're like, all right, look, pinned in, they give a kiss, and it can feel so heavy. And I have been on the receiving end where I'm like just devastated. I can't believe, and the girl's like, wasn't a big deal. And of course, we look at things for our own perspective, and it can mean a big deal. So I think what is important doesn't mean anybody's a bad person. It could mean it's somebody. It's not the thing. It's the intention. It's the action behind it. And what I like that these guys do maybe a little bit too much is like, no, I'm just playing the game. It's not their fault, right? They have to. And I think dating is a little bit of a game though, too, right, Marnie? Because
Well, I think it's a
right in.
game. I don't know if it's a game. I think like this is how I look at it.
Fun, or exploratory. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that you have to understand that the context and the world. I like, instead of the rules of the game, I like to say the context of the world that dating is. It is a culture, right, in itself. And so I always say to ladies, like, if you're uncomfortable having dates with different guys, really why? Where did you learn that? What's making you uncomfortable about it? We're not saying sleep with a lot of guys. We're not even saying you need to kiss a lot of guys. But what I think is important is understanding that you are searching for the best connection. And that even if you have a connection with Chris and you also have like a different kind of connection with Jeff, because like intellectually, he really gets you this way, but Chris is really fun and playful and likes to go out and like have a good time. And then you also go on a date with Brad, and he's more cerebral, but he's got a really high EQ.
Yeah.
You can have a connection with all those different people. And I think that when you just limit yourself, you're missing out on understanding what you can learn about yourself and what you need. And then it's really about taking the time to see those through and figuring out which is the best connection for your actual relational needs, your intimacy, your emotions, your brain, because not all, and this is like me trying to find a place to live, not all guys are going to meet all those requirements, right? That's why we have non-negotiables. So I think in this case,
you snogged a lot of RV parks trying to find that perfect
I did snog a lot of RV
perfect
parks.
little springs in Colorado.
I do, and I still have a crush on Vermont, but I don't want to I don't want to live there, So I think what Casey and Claudia are doing is appropriate, like, and it's very black and white, because they've known each other for 3 days. They're going to go to Casa Amor for 3 days. So Casey's like, let me see what happens, and he does kiss someone else, and he does flirt with someone else. And what I wish I could go in and tell these contestants is, because someone kisses or flirts with someone doesn't mean that they didn't love you. Now, I want to find the exception. And the exception is in the case of Tanya and Shaq, in which they've said, I love you. I believe he even said, like, we're exclusive. Or the case of Will and Jesse, where they're talking about being together on the outside world. And I don't think they said they're exclusive, but what I think is missing, and it does not fall into the context of this show exactly, is having appropriate expectations.
Sure.
And what I see is lots of women will pull their profile offline. They've decided they don't want to see anyone else, that they're being exclusive, but they don't feel comfortable having that conversation with the guy. And then if they find out that he's talking to other people, or he kind of doesn't call for a couple of days, they're hurt and confused. And so I think that if you're starting to have feelings and you're going to take yourself out of the game, that is something that you don't want to keep close to your chest. I think you want to have that conversation, even if it freaks the guy out or whatever. What do you think?
I love that. I think you made me think of something. I think not only is it important for us to be clear and honest with ourselves of why we are, last week we talked about taking yourself out of the game way too soon. And I also think we also tend to we can bullshit ourselves. And I think that's why there are some issues here. And of also bullshit ourselves of why we're keeping ourselves in the game. And I think that's what's a little confusing, because these people are all in the same, dating pool, and they're hearing everybody say the same excuses. Oh, hey, I'm just trying to make sure that,
test, we need a test.
We need our test, right? Exactly. To make sure, that after I kiss him or her, that I know that, oh, I still have feelings for you. So I'm doing that. And I think why, like all confusing things in life, sometimes it's true. And so we're like, oh, okay, maybe, we want to give the benefit of the doubt, but then sometimes it doesn't pass that sniff test. And I think, ultimately though, Marn, it's important to get very clear on, hey, Am I picking myself? Am I excluding myself? Closing it down, closing up shop for when I got my, my first customer, first job interview, or first RV park I strapped in, because out of a place of an abundance or scarcity, meaning like, oh, nobody else is going to like me. And or am I bullshitting myself sometimes and saying, yo, I need to keep dating. I need to keep do this forever, be single, keep dating.
Right. Because nobody's good enough.
Right. And no one's good enough. I haven't found the right person yet, versus being honest with ourselves, like, oh, do I really believe that I am good enough to have somebody come in there and hitch their wagon?
Exactly. And that's why you need non-negotiables. And that's why you need to really have a clear sense of what you're looking for and a way to be discerning.
Yeah. I think Ron kind of was a good example of that. He was kind of like, hey, playing the field constantly, being avoidant, that avoidant attachment style. And in the end, he's like, it took him time, isolation, to realize like, oh, I really do have something here, and I'm just following the same old pattern of and basically, when you're a good looking charismatic person, to have so many options, and you can stay single forever. I mean, the world's not going to force you to find a mate if you're committed to believing your bullshit that no one's good enough, or they're not out there, and got to pack up the RV and let's drive to another one.
Exactly. And so it's really like, it's about having self-trust and making sure that you're not acting out of like your darker side, your shadow self, your ego, whatever it is, and that you're really clear about where you are and what you're looking for, and don't make assumptions. There's that old like assume, don't assume, it only makes an ass out of you and me, right? Right? Because if you're pulling yourself out of the game, just make sure that it's not a secret, right? So that the other person understands, so that you're not betraying something that wasn't really intended to be a betrayal, because this person's not at the same place that you are. Which leads me to my next question, because I want to make sure we cover everything.
All right.
Because Olivia has definitely been playing the field. She has dated a bunch of guys. Kai has also dated a bunch of women in this experiment. And in the end, Olivia goes to Casa Amor and she meets this other guy and he's interested. And she starts to think, and she says even like, the public is voting and they don't like Kai. There's something they're seeing that I'm not sure about. So maybe they're right. I should date this other person. Now, on the flip side, there's Kai. He's in Casa Amor and he meets someone else. And his friends are saying, I'm not sure Olivia's really into you, or she just will go with anyone who's interested in her. And he's like, that kind of resonates for me too. And then of course they come back after Casa Amor and they both coupled up with other people. But for Olivia, and then we'll talk about Kai, is, and we've talked about this before, but what do other people think? Like I've had so many clients I've worked with, like, I could never date that guy because he lives in this area code or this zip code. And my parents would think, like, if my mom were alive today, she would like die. Or if I date a guy who, has this job instead of that job, that says something about me. Or this guy's not a 10, he's a 7 or a 6, on looks. Or that guy has a dad bod and that. And I think that there's this thing of like, we make a decision about who we should be with based on what we believe or are concerned that other people will think about us.
Right.
What do you think about that as it pertains to Olivia?
I love that, Marn. It's very intuitive of you to pick that up. Ladies, when you do this, or when you're in this energy of constantly taking the poll and the temperature of all those around you, or social media, or what will this and this think, and my parents' friends and my friends' cousins, guys, it is exhausting to date you when you're like this. It is tough enough to date one woman, but have to date all of her constantly revolving imaginary people giving their opinions because she doesn't know what she truly wants, isn't clear on that. It is confusing. Dating is already confusing enough for us, ladies. Don't make it harder. We can't solve one side of Rubik's Cube. Don't be a million-side Rubik's Cube. It's too much. And you pour it, Kai, you see him check out, and it is it's just sad. We kind of saw it, I think, on a couple of the other contestants who are now gone, because eventually the dudes, no matter how awesome, like I think it was Tanyelle or whatever, gorgeous they are, could be super sexy, and eventually we're just like, it's too much for us. So
Well,
don't play
yeah,
with
and
love.
I think and this is a great example. I love the what you said, because what we see Olivia doing is, because she doesn't really have her own internal clear barometer, she's kind of going to
Right.
whoever likes her. She's like she's so prototypical, right? She likes Tom, the guy who doesn't like her. It
Right.
takes her a lot to finally get, you're never getting that guy back. He's telling you whatever you want to hear. Then she goes to the other guy, But I think what we can see about Olivia is she's still really guarded. Even the guy that she's with now, Maxwell, is sort of like, are you into me, or are you still angry at your ex?
Yeah.
And that holding yourself closed off, it does ultimately cause guys to not want to work that hard and lose interest and find that other person who's going to be open. So, and I don't think that Olivia had any legs to stand on when she came back to Casa Amor and was mad for Kai coupling up with someone else, because she was giving mixed signals, and then she's dating other people. So you can't be mad if you find out someone's dating other people when you're also not 100% in.
And I think, Marnie, and it's important to note that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy when we're, when we're starting off guarded, thinking, worrying, this person I don't, isn't good enough for me, or I don't know, or this sort of thing. You're going to be right in the end. And you know what? Yes, she is. She's going to be right. She's going to be alone. And she's, and we're starting to see now, again, the island wanted to vote Kai off, because again, ladies, oftentimes you guys are leading the dance generally with the relationship, as far as is the scariest parts, the vulnerability, the emotional things. We're chicken shits, and you see Kai, he's so reserved, so boring. We couldn't stand him, right? Because he was showing no personality, because he was waiting to see how much she would open up. Like you said, she's so closed off. Therefore, he just stood back, and he was like watching paint dry. We're like, get him off the show. He's so boring.
Right.
Now you're seeing he's starting to be showing some personality, for good or for worse, but we're starting to see what kind of he is about with his new guy, Sima, whatever.
Tsunami. I think her name. Tsunami. And that's a really good point, because she's clearly into him. She's being emotionally available. She's setting the tone. He's emotionally available. He's noticing the difference between what the experiences of a Tanyelle or an Olivia. And he's like, wait, this person, and I think women don't understand that men are human, right? And that whole, like, it's a very old, unhealthy, like, play hard to get so that he chases me. You don't want a guy who wants to chase you. You want a guy who's like, oh, wait, you're looking for a relationship? Oh, wait, you're showing me vulnerability? Oh, wait, I get to be myself. That is something that the right guy for you wants to see from you. And that old way of thinking of like, I'm only going to let my guard out when he shows me that it's okay. You have to be able to set the tone for what it is you're looking for. And so I do think we're seeing more of Kai's personality and what he's like when he's in something a little more secure. I also have to say, I'm kind of impressed with Kai in that he refuses to get drawn into the drama with Olivia. And he's literally like, he's like, okay, if you want to have another conversation. Oh, wait, this conversation is going back to the same thing and you're not listening. I don't need to have it anymore. And he walks away.
For him.
And I'm not mad about it. I don't think he's being a jerk. She keeps saying like, he needs to apologize. He needs to apologize. And I also like Simam. We have to figure out her name. I'm so sorry. She's like staying out of it too. And I really think that Kai and her are really modeling like what it's like to just focus on your connection with each other, stay out of the drama, and do you. And they might lose the game, right? They might get voted off. People might not like that because they're getting less camera time. But I think he's just been dating and he found someone who's looking for what he's looking for, and now they're exploring it. Olivia needs to get over it.
Yeah, and notice how, and it's gals, you might be thinking, oh, Chris is being hard, and guys aren't that chicken shit or whatnot. But do you remember when they're laying the scene, Marnie, where he's getting to know this gal, and he's doing this very cheeky way of kind of asking her to be like, hey, whatever, you love my hair, don't you? You love my, it's this complete, it just shows why he and Olivia would never work, because she's going to stand on the other corner and she's waiting for him to, to say why he is, undyingly obsessed and in love with her. That just shows the insecurities that he has. And a lot of men do have, that we're scared to come into that mouse hole, right?
Yes.
That little falcon might snatch us up. So he kept asking and asking, like, overly. It was starting to annoy me. Like, bro, stop asking for validation. You get it. You're a tall stud. You're handsome.
Yeah.
But we're still just so scared. And again, it's just something to remember, just to hold that in mind, that we do need to be led. We don't need a little cheese to nurture us out of that hole and to let us know it's going to be safe. And I think Sanam, she does have a very caring way about her, from her eye, the way, just the way she's listened. And she does seem confident in being in her vulnerable feminine energy.
Yeah, her name is Sanam. I looked it up.
It is Sanam. Okay, right on.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this idea of being in the doghouse and withholding and stonewalling to try and get someone to change, because I think that is a pattern that I can fall into, right? I know that. So in the Casa Amor scenario, and this has been in every episode, in every season, there are men and women who, don't meet expectations. And then they come back, and then, they get confronted, which is juicy TV. If you're not watching, it's really juicy. And there's this game that gets played, right? Like, I'm over you, I'm done. And we want to talk about Shaq and Tanya, because Shaq is literally like, I'm done. It's done and dusted. I could never take you back. Lana did this with Ron. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have a magical answer to this, because I think context is important. But what I'm interested in is, how can we get out of the game, right? Where the man you're with or the person you're with has done you dirty and you're mad at them. So your reaction is, well, I'm going to stonewall them, or I'm going to shut down. And then they have to like try and get back into good graces. And then it's suddenly okay.
Yeah.
Because I think some of these people take them back without really talking about the real issue.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with Shaq and Tanya. That's what's happening with Sammy and Tom. That's what's happening with, well, let's save Jesse and Will. But so, I mean, you're a guy, like, how do, I'm sure you've been on job, you've grafted to get back into Dr. Emily's good graces, or anyone else you've dated.
Yeah.
How do we break this pattern? It's like so annoying.
Of stonewalling, kind of closing down.
Yeah. Like, oh, you've done something, wrong. So I'm going to play hard to get. And then I'm going to tell you that I'm not interested, so that you realize how amazing I am. And then you come back and fight for me. It could just get into a cycle. And we don't want to be that. We want to know, how do we give grace? How do we forgive? How do we also set boundaries?
Yeah. I think the first thing to realize is we don't want to, we don't want to be spending the night on the couch or in the doghouse. It's not comfortable, and it should be avoided. And I think and it is so easy. It's important to acknowledge, Marn, that's the safe place, right? We go down under, we dive out so that we're protected, and it's silent, and kind of clear the noise out. And it's a temporary little respite from that scariness on top. But I think it's important. I think we get out of it and avoid it, and to reemerge as quick as possible, is by when we're feeling hurt, like all these gals are, because they're, lovers were, poor guys.
And Shaq is also hurt. Just remember, it's not just the women this time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Shaq got hurt earlier on. Remember when she was like, won the making out contest and that sort of thing. I don't think he did this. And this is what I'm going to say is the fastest way out of it. And it's a good test to figure out not only, where your partner's at emotionally, expressively, intelligently wise on that aspect, but also to figure out, well, kind of where do you assign this person? Where do they at? Because I've mentioned before that when a guy really does like a gal, he will do what it takes not to hurt her, and when he does hurt her, to fix that situation. So I think the doghouse, while the doghouse is good for a safe place for the gal, it's not a place where the guy can give you what you need. And I think most of the time what we need is clarity on, well, what number one is to figure out, hey, to be honest with ourselves and express, hey, I was really feeling hurt, insecure, sad, I don't abandoned, whatever our feelings are when, XYZ happened. And because of that, maybe I gotta go in my own, the doghouse isn't necessarily about putting you away, that you're bad, but maybe you just need to temporarily put yourself in your own little mental doghouse. I need to, I need a night to cool off, or I need a night to process it, or think, or just heal up, or whatever. And I think then when you shut up, I think then we talked about your knight in shining armor will want to show up and say, uh-oh, I hurt my woman. And I think Will is a great example of, he realized it, and he does care for this gal, and he does seem to have the long-term relationship type of qualities. And so he did figure out, well, it was corny of an overture that he did make, but you could tell he wanted to correct it. He wanted to get her woman out of that state as fast as possible. She did a good job, by the way. She didn't, force him. I don't think she really made him feel like shit, or made it all about him, or started having a battle of who's wrong or who's right. She was just like, I am hurt. And she seemed to really own it. Right. And
yes. Yeah. And I think what's great, and so I'm glad you brought them up. So I think a couple things. One is that the overture itself doesn't solve the problem. Right. So by avoiding the problem, by just shutting down and saying, like, fuck you, or not answering his texts or whatever, you're just letting him, like, try and band-aid it and come back and do something that makes you feel good. And then you go back together. And so what I think Jesse says is, so trust has been broken. It's going to take a lot to build back trust. And now they're continuing to talk about it. It may have gone too far. I don't really know if she's ever going to get over it, for better or worse, but we'll see. But Shaq and Tanya aren't dealing with the core issue of why at least we're not seeing it, right? Like, the reason why she was open to Martin was because she thought Shaq is jealous. She thought he's insecure. She doesn't like the way he communicates, right? So she says, over at Casa, like, these things, I'm seeing who Shaq really is. And even though I love him, like, I don't think he's my person. And so to come back and just feel the chemistry or that pull with someone without dealing with the core issue is why we end up getting in these ruts over and over and over again. Because in 4 weeks' time, when Shaq's back in good graces, if they have another conversation, or she is engaging in behavior that makes him jealous, so you have to be committed to your individual growth as well as the growth of the relationship. And for Will, he literally has never been in a relationship. A hot girl was, like, flirting with him. He wanted validation. He literally lost his mind. If I were Jesse, I would say, and I think she's thinking the right line of thought, like, wait, when we get out of here and your DMs are filled up and you've never had a relationship before, I'm concerned you might have a little bit of ADD and forget who I am. And so I would like them to be talking about that. Are you sure you're ready for a relationship? You know that there's going to be a lot of pretty girls that are really amazing that are going to want to be with you. Like, we should have an honest conversation.
For sure. But throwing a guy, but forcing him onto the couch or the doghouse, or taking off on a trip to your, Cabo with your girls to do these punishments and things. It's never the answer. It's a tip. Some of these can be used as a, hey, let me catch my breath and let me journal, or whatever it is, or let me just get clear, especially when they're in like with Will, for example. Give him some grace, because these are new feelings and hasn't had a chance to grapple with it. But like you mentioned, with the Shaq thing and these things, she even mentioned, like, you're reminding me of this ex. She didn't fix it with the ex. She didn't fix it. Now she's still unclear, doesn't know what to do with it, right? Whereas if she would have said, hey, this happened once with my ex, she wouldn't need to say that, but she'd be like, okay, now I know how to approach and communicate what my non-negotiables are, and how, especially early on in a relationship, how I want to proceed past go when I'm experiencing something like that. Maybe coach him and guide him. Hey, if you could, word it this way, or say these sort of things.
Yeah, this is what I need. This is how. And the thing is, like, and we talked about this on the show, in the first interaction they had, that was a disagreement. she makes Shaq believe that it's resolved. And then she goes off and tells her girlfriends, I'm still not happy, which then leads her going to Casa Amor. Right. And so I really love this. Like, if you need a break to, like, you know, like Gottman says, like a 20-minute to 24-hour, like, cooling off period. And the Gottman Institute is a relationship training place that I've been around since the 60s. So they recommend taking a break, naming how long the break is going to be. Like, let's talk tomorrow. Let's talk like in an hour. That you clear your mind, that you really get back online. So your high functioning, you know, adult self comes back, and then you talk from a place of vulnerability, right? Like, this is how when you did this, it made me feel like this. The story I made up is this. This is what I need. You know, next time and this is an important piece. I love that Gottman talks about this, which I think is missed so many times, is the next time when this happens, here's what I need to do differently, and here's what I'd like you to do differently. Right? So that you're moving it forward. So I think what we want to end with is like having a break is cool, a cool down period. When someone makes a bid for repair to reconnect, that you take it and that you don't get into a game, and then that you address the actual issues so that you can grow from it, or you decide ultimately that this person isn't your person.
Exactly. And otherwise, Marni, you're going to keep screaming at the person. You remind me of my last boyfriend, because you're never going to have that resolved in your head, and you're going to keep dating the same guy over and over again.
Amen, brother. I'm so glad we got to next time we talk, we'll talk about movie night, which is like, what happens if the past comes back to haunt you again and again and again? What do you do with that? And much more as we head into the second half of Casa Amor and Love Island. Remember, you can watch it on Hulu now and catch up with us. It's really fun and very juicy. Also, don't forget consultant Chris.com. If you know any dudes that need some coaching or help with their style, you could find us on Instagram, on TikTok, and Dating with Dignity, Instagram and TikTok, Dating with Dignity. There's a big juicy conversation argument on my TikTok right now about, should you tell a guy that you're actually looking for a relationship or not?
Love it.
So check us out there and see what people said and how I responded. And whatever you do, life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP. That's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.